Good evening, David. I have been drinking beer for about the last 3 hours, and I'm about to show you how to do a injection marinade. Once you have your marinade cooled and ready to inject into the turkey, I'm going to show you how to go ahead and do that. But first, I'd like to wish you and your family a very happy Thanksgiving. And so, would Roscoe. That's right. He's been here all night begging for scraps. Anyway, I really apologize for the camera angles if they're terrible, if they're shitty, whatever. But I think you'll get the gist. This marinade that I'm about to inject here is the fourth of all the marinades that I have done for this year. I have a lot of this one, so it's going to be kind of a liberal, large amount of marinade that I'm going to put in here. You don't really need to do this much, but this is like my most experimental of the four that I did. So, without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to go ahead and do this. This is my marinade. The most important thing, I guess, would be to say, make sure you constantly keep it stirred. You see how it's kind of clouding up like that, and it's dispersing really evenly as I stir it. You want to give it a pretty good stir each time before you do any sort of injection. And I'll even use the injector itself to stir it up a little bit before you start lifting the plunger to do this process. Anyway, you'll notice here also that I have the turkey laid out on plastic wrap. Once you do these injections, it's a really good practice to stick the turkey in plastic and really wrap it tightly, and then really just get it sealed off, and then do another layer of aluminum foil. Once it's all done. I guess I'll show you how to do all that as well. Anyway, without delay, I'm going to go ahead and show you here. So, hopefully I can get a good angle here with the phone and do this correctly. But I'm going to go ahead and stir the marinade up. It's important that if you have a limited amount of marinade that you put it in the best and most important spots of the turkey. So I'm going to go ahead and stir this with the tip of the needle. And then I'm going to suck up about, in this case, 8 ounces. And I am doing that right now. That wasn't very good. Let's try it again. You don't want a lot of air in the needle, so if you get a lot of air in the injector, you want to try and properly do this a little better. Alright, so what I'm going to do actually is transfer this to a cup, a deeper vessel, if you will. Sorry for the bad camera angles. Alright, excuse me for 1 second while I set this down and transfer. Alright, I went ahead and transferred the marinade into a coffee mug, which is a much more workable vessel here. We'll still stir it up every single time. I'm probably just going to use the needle now for the rest of it. Alright, so I'm going to give it a good whisk here with the needle, and I'm going to pull up about 8 ounces of marinade. Let's see. Okay. So I got about 8 ounces in the needle there, and that's going to go into the first side of the breast. Now, when you do this, it's really important to kind of feel the spots here, because different turkeys, different sizes, are going to have a little bit more mass on maybe one side versus the other. So I'm going to start with the left side, because that feels like the more tender of the two sides. And the first injection, you really want to kind of start up by the top here and inject downward with the needle. You don't want to really hit the bone, because if you hit the bone, you're going to like really get the marinade all over the inside of the cavity of the turkey. So you kind of want to work the needle down in, give it a good shove, and then once it's in there, kind of, you know, like the dentist does, give it a little wiggle. Okay? And as you inject the flavoring, you want to inject, get a better angle here. You want to inject and withdraw slowly. And I'll probably like start back again, like push down again after you get a little bit in there, and then really just kind of slowly work the needle out as you inject the marinade. So about halfway down. Take your time. Definitely take your time. And a little bit of this stuff running out of the turkey like you're going to see here. That's kind of a normal thing. And as you start to saturate the bird more and more with the marinade, you'll notice that it happens more frequently. Okay? The general rule of thumb here is whatever you do to one side, you do exactly the same thing to the other. Okay, so I'm going to fill up again. Sorry for the bad camera angle. Alright. Got about 8 ounces in this one again. Typically for the breast meat with the marinade I sent you, about 4 to 6 ounces of marinade per breast is a good rule. You can just keep using it until it's all gone. I mean, this is your first crack at it, so you know it's not going to really matter. So I'm going to go into the second side here and do the exact same thing. So my last point of injection was about here. I'm going to move a little further over here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Get it in there, wiggle it around. Try not to push up against any bone. If you do, kind of withdraw and do it again here. All right. So same thing, as you plunge slowly. That first one had a little air pocket in it. And then go back. And then just kind of slowly plunge the flavor in there and withdraw at the same time. And then when you get to the end, I'm going to go ahead and push it down again. When you get to the end, you'll notice it's definitely going to squirt a lot of this out. Remember, I'm using a lot more marinade than the typical recipe would call for. This is actually a different marinade that has some sweetness in it, so I'm okay with a little extra. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Now the next part is going to be the thighs. So same thing. I would probably fill up about halfway this time. Okay. About halfway. So I got about 4 or 5 ounces. For the thighs, on each side, I'm just going to do one, and then I'll let you go to work here. You can also do the wings. The wings are kind of difficult to inject. Maybe I'll just show you one of those as well. But for the thighs, the same thing. You're going to want to kind of start back towards where the feet are, like back in here. But, you know, obviously a little closer. And you're going to want to work. You want to work the needle in along the bone here. I'm going to set the phone down just for a second here. Alright, sorry, needed 2 hands for that. And then, yeah, sometimes the thighs are a little tricky. But, you know, as you do the same thing, you know, maybe expel like half of it and withdraw a little bit there. And when you get like halfway through it, start on the other side of the thigh. So I'm going to go a little lower, do the same injection. That was a little better. Alright, so get it down in there and do the same thing. And I'm going to talk you through the wing section because it's a little hard to show using only one hand here. But the wing section, basically you're going to go in from here and you're going to inject, really firmly push with the needle and really work that in there, and just kind of, you'll feel the wing fill up with marinade. So that's pretty much it with the injection. After you're all done, wrap the whole thing in plastic wrap and store it in the fridge and let that marinade kind of do its magic for about anywhere from 8 to 24 hours. I'm going to let mine go a little bit longer because I'm going to be removing these from the fridge early in the morning, the day of Thanksgiving. So, you know, you're not really doing any harm by letting it sit in the marinade a little longer. But, you know, play around with it and see what you get. I'm going to do a few more injections with the remaining marinade. I'll probably take another insertion on the breast meat coming from the opposite way. That's kind of up to you if you want to do that. But I usually do about 3 points of injection on the breast if I have a lot of marinade to work with. If you're just doing the recipe I sent you, which doesn't have any additives, like this particular marinade has beer, apple juice, and brown sugar as additives. So there's a lot more of it than the first one I did, which is just the exact recipe I sent you, the 2 cups of butter with all those spices. So this one's a lot more actual marinade because of all the additives. So I'll do like an injection where I did initially here. I'll probably do another one halfway up, and then another one going the opposite way, you know, for the last one. So just play around with it. Don't be afraid to, you know, overutilize the marinade. It's all going to kind of fall out once it hits the fryer anyway. So be generous with the spices and, you know, have a good time with it. And just remember, safety first. Isn't that right, Rascal? All right. Well, Cunninghams, I wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have fun and enjoy your first year and first experience with the fried turkey. Happy Thanksgiving.